What is up, everybody? Welcome to Night 2 SummerSlam 2025 review. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, and I am joined by Tempest. Tempest, welcome back to the show. We got Night 2 to talk about. I guess I'm going to start off with how you're doing, man.
I was doing a lot better 20 minutes ago, I'll be honest with you. I was very excited to once again come on the show. We had a great time yesterday. We had like a middling show with a great ending, and I was really looking forward to coming on here and giving a bunch of high-spirited takes about what they're going to do next with this guy and, how I didn't care for this one particular match, but such and such, but now something else is going to dominate the conversation now, isn't it?
Yes. So, guys, everyone here right now is their first thing. We had a great show, by the way. A lot of really fantastic matches. However, what is going to be dominating this podcast, every podcast, and as well as social media and the wrestling news cycle for the foreseeable time, it is the return of one Brock Lesnar is back in WWE. Now, some people here, this is going to be a mixed reaction, guys. So I'm just going to start off by saying, respect everyone's opinion. Everyone's going to have a different take on this because there's a lot of things that we got to lay down here. So many of you guys know that Brock Lesnar was named in the lawsuit that Janelle Grant put on Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and WWE that ended up with, Vince McMahon having to be sent out of the company. And you all know the story that has dominated the entire news cycle for quite some time now. And for a long, long time, the question has been thrown around, will Brock Lesnar be back? Will Brock be back? And truth be told, we did not know. Triple H had been asked about this at press conferences multiple times, and every time that he was asked about it, he basically said that it was up to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar has not been with the company since Triple H has taken over head of creative and Vince McMahon has been out of the door. So now we are in an entirely new sort of landscape here. And basically how this happened was after Cody Rhodes defeated John Cena in what was a fantastic match, which we will get to in a moment. But after he defeated him and he shakes hands with John Cena, they hug, they celebrate, Cody walks out, John Cena's having a standing ovation, and then bam, we hear the music of Brock Lesnar, and he goes out there and ends up hitting John Cena with an F5. So that is the next thing that we are going with in regards to John Cena. Now, Tempest, this is going to be a complicated one because a lot of people here are going to find themselves in a difficult space because, for one, a lot of people here, myself included, were Brock Lesnar fans back in the day. The matches, the career, etc. We would be lying if we said we weren't Brock Lesnar fans at some point, right? He's a big star, all of that. However, after so much was shined some light on some graphic details of what had been said during this lawsuit, it is kind of hard to root for somebody in that sort of situation. So there's going to be people that are okay with it, that can accept it because they're fans of Brock Lesnar. And then there's going to be people that cannot move on from that because they know all of these additional details. So where are you at on this? Because this isn't just, hey, our favorite wrestler's back and we get to talk about it. Woo! No, this is a totally different conversation where some people are going to lie in a different part of the spectrum when it comes to how they feel about Brock Lesnar's return.
Well, I think you've hit the nail right on the head already. I was having a conversation during the show about we were just having discussions about things in wrestling past and whatever, and we talked about a couple of moments that involved Brock Lesnar, and we were like, man, it really is a shame how it all turned out, right? Because Brock Lesnar was one of your favorite wrestlers. Brock Lesnar was one of my favorite wrestlers. What an incredible wrestler. Such good instincts when it comes to being in the ring, and what great matches, and blah, blah, blah. And then not 15 minutes later, they trot him out there. Now, so all that to say, in case people have seen my tweet, I'm disgusted. I'm absolutely blown away by this. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm being naive, or maybe I was being naive about this, because you look at, gosh forsake, the video package and the stills they throw up multiple times throughout both of these shows. It's very clear kind of where WWE and TKO and everything lie with a lot of these things, right? It's not a secret. But still, this is not just a simple kind of cut and dry situation. This man is named in an ongoing sex trafficking lawsuit. And he's just that's the big surprise at the end of SummerSlam. And that is a decision made by the kind of people that are in charge of WWE right now. And if you are okay with that out in TV land, we are different people in that sense. Like, I'm sat here, and to say that it's ruined my night would not be an exaggeration, because yeah, I went on this show yesterday with you, and we had a grand old time talking about all this. And I can certainly set aside a lot of my gripes with WWE behind the scenes, or however people might, be politically aligned or what have you, for the sake of talking about the television program. I can certainly do that. But when it is front and center, like it is at the end of SummerSlam, that they are making the decision that actually being named in an ongoing sexual trafficking lawsuit is not a deal breaker for them, I am more or less without words. I can't begin to imagine what is going through Janelle Grant's mind. I don't know that she's keeping up with the shows. I would highly doubt it. But for the real life people that get affected by these things, for the major corporations that are not losing money by not having Brock Lesnar on the show, to decide that is still just fine, I am disgusted. In a word, I'm disgusted by it.
So there's a lot here. We can go in so many directions. The first one, and someone already made the comment on the chats here, was, well, we know why WWE ended those press conferences, by the way, because they're right on the precipice of Brock Lesnar's return. Those were ended, right? Now, granted, there are all sorts of different types of media outlets that are there, some of which people that would not have asked, maybe not even cared about this. And then there were going to be people, depending on who they had in there, that would definitely have asked. You got to understand there's a difference in that. And to kind of paint in perspective, I applied for SummerSlam credentials, got approved, all of that, right? And was there for the media day. At no point during that, during the whole entire process of getting media credentials and everything, did they ever tell us, hey, there's not going to be a press conference. I left because I was planning on being here the entire time, but all of the media, Tempest, that were there at SummerSlam, they found out that there was going to be no press conference while they were already at the show. People did not know. There was people that flew in from the UK to go and cover SummerSlam with the assumption that there was going to be a press conference, and they were not informed of that information until literally in that moment. Actually, I was talking about it on the watch along yesterday when I got the text and I learned that there was not going to be a press conference. And so now, here's the thing. We're just going to have to talk about the big elephant in the room right now. And that is that in the last, in the last couple of days alone, we have seen Triple H appear at the White House side by side with Donald Trump. There have been videos that were circulating on the internet about, people booing in the stadium, when they showed the clips of Triple H and Donald Trump on the screen. And usually we don't really talk about that type of stuff here on this show. However, all of this, and then a recent interview where Triple H did say, when he was asked about the Vince McMahon allegations, he had a quote where he said allegations, something along those lines. It was a really nonchalant quote, kind of sort of dismissing a lot of Vince McMahon's actions. That's what it felt like. So with all of that has sort of circulated and that has happened, and now this, it is, you have to mention it. You have to mention it when you are having this conversation. And I think now we kind of just realize where, if you didn't realize it already, I think we kind of know where the company stands when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And granted, again, I know we tune in for the wrestling because we're here to have fun. I fucking love wrestling. I love watching storylines. I love watching wrestlers. We love that shit. That's why we're here. However, this ugly real world live stuff is coming, it's bleeding into the on-screen stuff that we're seeing right now because we know these stories are happening and occurring. Now, there's just a lot here. If you're talking about like other sports leagues and whatnot, so many, like Brock wouldn't be back if it was another guy in another situation in another sport. Like so many other guys have lost careers over stuff less than, you know, what Brock was involved in and all of that. And of course, for those of you who might not know the details, I don't want to get into those details because they're very, very graphic, but they are out there for everyone to read and to be informed about. And I kind of hate that we had such a great night and we have to sit here and talk about this, but it is the big thing in regards to this. So I don't know, Tempest.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up the other sports leagues as a point here, because I was just about to bring up, it's not one for one by any means. The circumstances were different, but as you know, as someone who follows the world of hockey and the NHL very closely, you know, as a Canadian as such, they had a situation that I can pull parallels to very recently, where there was a group of players that were being taken to court over sexual assault charges that stemmed from something that happened years ago. Now that recently came out with a verdict and everything. But in the time between the charges being announced and the verdict happening, those players were absolutely hard banned from competing in the NHL. And even still now, after the verdict, the NHL, which I do not typically hold in high esteem as an organization, are still doing their own internal investigation before even approaching the thought of these players being allowed to play again in the league. That is so the bare minimum of what should be the standard here for similar events. Regardless of whether you think Brock is you know, he's not the one being taken to court over this. But regardless of if you think the court case is going to go one way or the other, or things happened or they didn't happen, that is still a court case that is yet to be resolved. One way or another, they do not have the details to make an informed decision about whether or not he should be someone to have on your television show. And they made that decision anyway. And I'm sure this is not an opinion that'll shock people. This has probably been an opinion that many people will have had for decades even. But it just goes to show that there are professional organizations, and WWE is not one of them. They don't take this sort of thing seriously if this is what they're going to do when presented with such a situation. And that, to me, as a wrestling fan, is so disappointing. It boggles my mind that such a thing can be done. Just from a logistical sense, how do you allow that to happen while the court case is ongoing? Make your decision afterwards. That is your choice to make as business people. But while it's ongoing, I think having Brock Lesnar on your show is unconscionable.
So that's where we're at, ladies and gents. I mean, this is a lot we're going to go in a bunch of different directions, but at least now we kind of get an idea of what may be happening. And here's the thing, this is what I was thinking about too, is that we have a lot, like we didn't necessarily, it's not like we need Brock Lesnar per se for the business to thrive in the sense. Of course, I'm not going to lie here and say that Brock Lesnar is not a draw. He is, okay? Point blank. We've already stated that in the beginning. But right now where we are at, we do have so much going on. We got so many people that people are interested in, that this wasn't a situation of, oh my God, we must have Brock back or else the company is dead, right? Not necessarily. You have other people. And so, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm just like, wow, I really wasn't maybe I sound naive, but I wasn't expecting this tonight. And I know a lot of people might have. And the other thing I kept thinking to myself is, damn, how many Brock Lesnar returns have we had at SummerSlam at this point? So it is wild. I'm going to get into people's thoughts on this, and we'll go ahead and press on as the night continues. But we got Punks Are Punks here, who says new TKO would do it, and it's still disgusting. We got Lar Janus 1872. By the way, thank you, Punks Are Punks. He says, overall thoughts on the show as a whole. As a whole, the show was kick-ass, man. There was only one match that I didn't like, and it was the steel cage match, because I didn't think it was good, and I didn't love the ending, and I wanted Jacob Fatu to win. But other than that, they all knocked it out of the park. Tempest, overall, as a whole, how did you feel about night 2?
Otherwise, I thought night 2, it's funny, because I think night 1 was like a very kind of consistent but middling show until the end. Whereas this, I thought, had higher highs in terms of the matches, but lower lows at the same time. So it was much more of an inconsistent ride throughout. I disliked, I think, more of the matches than you did potentially. But at the same time, a few of the matches I absolutely adored. So very high highs and very low lows.
We got Cool Fool 1980. Thank you, by the way, to Lar Janus. We got Cool Fool here who says Alberto Del Rio and Vince McMahon return confirmed. Obviously, we don't know. There are reports that came out that people were pushing for Alberto Del Rio. Vince McMahon, I still don't think so, because I do think that sponsors will once again, pull out, or, threaten to pull out the way that they did for during Royal Rumble and all of that. Thank you, Cool Fool. We got Ten Ruza here who says fetish trash. Vincent Kennedy McMahon will be back. Trump at Mania is Ten Ruza's prediction. Oh God. Oh my God. I'm getting like
I wouldn't put it past any of them. If this is what they'll do, I used to always say there's no way Alberto Del Rio would ever be back in WWE. Now, anything can happen. There's no deal breaker. These people. There's no deal breaker. And that's appalling.
It's depressing. Oh man, I'm so bummed, man. All right, we had such a good show. I was ready to come on here and say so many other things, and now I'm sitting here talking about this. We got Lewis Rothwell who says Brock Lesnar sells his soul to The Rock to punish Cena. Oh my gosh. Lewis, thank you so much for making me laugh during all of this. Thank you. We got John Taylor here with the generous super chat who says, so I've alluded to the fact I haven't been watching the WWE much lately, and while moving has been a convenient excuse, it has really been the WWE doing the morally dubious Vince type crap. Like, what happened tonight? Yeah, I mean, that's where we're at, guys. I don't even know what else to say. This is it's exhausting to think about some of the things. Like, even when they were playing some of the videos that I disagreed with on the show, I chose to ignore it. You know what? I was like, you know what? I'm not going to look at that. I don't want to care about that. I want to watch the wrestling. I'm here for the wrestling. I'm not here for that other stuff. I need a break from that other real world stuff. Okay. And it sucks. And here we are, man. I think right now, had Brock Lesnar not came out right now, we would have been talking about Cody Rhodes and John Cena, who absolutely freaking killed it in their match. And we haven't even had the chance yet to give them their flowers because they freaking killed it, man. And I can't wait to talk about that match. We'll get to it in a second. Thank you, John. We got A Ninja here who says, the night was so much fun with a fantastic main event. Then they did one of the most out of touch and gross things that they could. And that's the thing. They didn't even have to do it, though. Like, do you think they had to do it, Tempest?
Absolutely not. Not for 1 second was this a must-have scenario for them. You telling me of all the possible storyline opportunities you have with John Cena's last 3-4 months, the way he's going to spend it is feuding with Brock Lesnar. That's the best you got. Unbelievable.
I was laughing during the watch along because I was thinking, damn, I was sitting here thinking that like maybe John Cena was going to face Gunther or something. Like that's where my brain was. I did not have Brock on my mind at all. We got John Taylor here who says, Tempest, I feel exactly how you look.
I'm trying to put on a happy face. I'm trying to pick myself back up for the rest of this show. So I'll try not to let it come through quite so much.
Infamous Ritter Loco says, first off, my last day spending it with my baby girl before she moves tomorrow to Georgia has been a very rough weekend, but as always, I love and appreciate our DWO leader for being her light in the tears of that, and then Punk last night, then Brock back. Isn't that, but yesterday I was mad over something that was fucking kayfabe wrestling. No big deal, right? Like, I mean, it's fun. It's what we do. And now here we're having something that actually involves serious shit, man. I'd rather be sitting here mad because my favorite wrestler fucking got cashed in on. I'd rather be sitting here talking about that, honestly. Infamous Raider Loco, thank you very much. He also says, this wasn't for you, Brock, another great main event. If this wasn't for you, Brock, for another great main event, ruined. First time, 38 years of my life, I'm second guessing WWE until it comes out he is innocent. F him. Thank you, Frank. We got Tim is a hooligan. Thank you for the super chat, Tim. Very nice of you. We got John Taylor here who says, I'm 100% with Tempest. This isn't a wrestling issue. This is a perpetuating the same BS that makes it so hard for victims to come forward. Yeah, literally all the damn time. Cool Fool 1980 says, do you think Brock's return could pressure some sponsors to end their relationship with WWE? Could Netflix also be pressured? I wouldn't be surprised if they already kind of got their ducks in a row with that. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave the heads up to their partners and said, hey, we're going to have Brock back. I just don't think that this was done just like this. I think this was something that was set in motion and for all of these, you know, I think that they checked in with all of these people. You know, it was crazy too, watching Nick Khan sitting in the front row, watching Brock Lesnar come out and make his return. And I'm just there like, holy shit, what? Like, this is fucking trippy. Like, see Nick Khan just there watching him. And I'm just like, bro, oh my God, this is too much.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to sponsors or anything like that. I will wait to hear from Sean or whoever's going to report any of the fallout of this return. But who knows? If you run that risk when you have something like this happen. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's certainly something you factor in when making a decision like this.
We got Ten Ruza here who says, please chat, go read the lawsuit. Guys, so yeah, I know this is going to cause a lot of drama. Trust me, I already know it. Just be respectful, please. And then secondly, if you're just not familiar with the details, it's out there. You guys can search it up. It's there. I don't want to talk about those graphic details on here. We got Tim is a hooligan who says, for those who are bothered by this, AEW Dynamite is Wednesday. Represent with your viewership. And look, everybody here knows I'm an AEW fan. We cover AEW very fairly. But here's the thing. If you're not happy with what WWE is doing, there's not just AEW. There's so many other places that you guys can definitely watch and tune into if you know you don't agree with it and all of that stuff. But if you're fine and you can still press forward, then hell yeah. All right, we got John Taylor here who says it'll be a while until you see this, but we can barely hear Tempest like a mic level issue. Oh, let me see. I wasn't sure if that was just me, but Tempest, do you think you can go a little louder if possible?
Yeah, absolutely. How is that? Is that any better?
I think it kind of sounds the same.
Okay, I'm raising my mic volume in the back end. I'm hoping that that's any better.
I think it sounds the same too.
What's going on? Does StreamYard not actually, like, I'll max out the mic volume on here. And
really?
If that's not changed, yeah, I've maxed it out at like 200% or whatever.
I mean, it sounds kind of about the same, but some people think the wrong mic might be connected. You think?
I don't think so. I did double check beforehand. So how about, nope, that's also maxed out, I think. How about now? How about?
No, I think it's worse now.
How about now?
No, go back to the other one. Go back to the other one.
How about now?
No.
How about now?
No.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back to whatever you were at before. That was actually better.
How about now? I'm just messing with mics.
Actually, that does sound a little better.
Oh? Or is it better now if I do it this way? Is it getting better? It
sounds a little better to me.
Okay, is it better now? Perhaps. I don't know. I can't hear myself at all.
I think this is probably the best we're gonna get, so it's fine. Don't worry. I think
good.
It's good now. Yeah, I think it's good now. I think we're good. Just talk extra loud.
Oh, I have no problem doing that.
All right, cool. Thank you, John. We got David Primero here who says not a fan of Brock's return. If they allow him to return, will they let the last worst person return too? Hopefully not. It's bad PR for them. # bad decision. I think they see it more as I don't even know what they see it as. I think I'm trying to get into that mentality, and I'm trying to figure out. I know some people say all publicity is good publicity, but I'm not really sure about that. I guess it's give or take on how you see that whole opinion. But I mean, guys, they're showing up with the White House. They're supporting Donald Trump. Like, I don't think they really care about how it looks to people. They don't care. Like, let's just be real. They're out there with Donald Trump, a guy who, said that he was on the freaking Epstein list. And I don't got to continue going into that. This isn't even supposed to be about freaking politics on this damn podcast. But come on, I just don't think they care. That's where we're at.
Nope. No, I don't think they do. It's pretty clear they're a MAGA company through and through, so think of that what you will. And, maybe more examples of that have come out of the last week that I would rather not see in my wrestling program, but it is the reality of the situation.
We got Paula Bena here who says, wanted to put a smile on goodnight. I hope before Brock came out. I'm so sorry, Paula. My apologies. We got Magnus 5000 who says the only worst choice they could have made besides the world's angriest sentiment is Alberto El Douchebag. On a better note, Tempest and Denise ruled. Thank you so much, Magnus. And we will get to the wrestling because I do want to talk about that at some point and talk about the good matches that the wrestlers had. Infamous Raider Loco here says, I guess I can say where I'm at. I'll continue to support both WWE and AEW, but for the first time, I probably change the channel once Brock comes out on TV. Rather not. And he also says, is Becky wearing a Dom shirt? She's the GOAT. I haven't seen, so I'm not on that right now, but I'll check later. Lewis Rothfield says, I feel bad for Cena being brought into all of this. I don't think Cena cares either. Cena has openly said that he still loves and supports Vince McMahon. So I think he's all right with this, guys. I think Cena's all right with this. Man, you guys, I hate this. All right. Let's go ahead and kind of work our way backwards and talk about what happened before Brock came out, which was the match between Cody Rhodes and John Cena for the Undisputed WWE Championship in a street fight. This was a freaking awesome match, man. If they wanted to make us forget about that WrestleMania match, completely undo the disappointment that was, the body of this match did that. They did a lot within the ring, fought outside the crowd, cutters, attitude adjustments, crossroads, back to back, Cody undoing the bottom rope and going after John Cena, even though he kind of hesitated a little bit. They did a couple of near falls. However, I didn't fall for the ones that happened earlier in the match. It wasn't until basically like the latter end when I started to buy them. We even saw an execution of the pile driver onto John Cena. So there was a lot that went down in this Tempest. How did you feel about this matchup?
For the most part, I thought this was basically what the WrestleMania match should have been. I still question their execution of Cena's heel turn. If they were going to do it at all, I think you could have done it at the end of WrestleMania and still set up that match with a very similar babyface dynamic like we had on this show. Because, the crowd was picking their favorites and everything, and that's fine. But the crowd was very into John Cena, the babyface, and it gave this match so much more life and so much more of an interesting dynamic than the WrestleMania match had. And of course, that match had loads of problems and everything that we have gone into at nauseum. But this one had a very simple structure laid out. You could very much tell the 3-act structure that they went through with all of the feeling each other out and some light weapon spots at the early go, and then you do the crowd brawling and everything, and then they brawl them all the way back down to the ring, and you're going to hit a bunch of finishers and go to the finish. That's very simple, very much a John Cena structured formula WWE main event match. Like a lot of his best matches when the people really got into his work in the mid-2010s, when he was wrestling guys like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, were just, big move, kick out, hit lots of finishers, and eventually someone's going to hit the last one, and that'll be it. It works for him. It might not be, the most flexible of formulas, like it's repetitive by design, But if that is something that you can very much get invested in, and you have guys that work with that formula very well, like Cody and John Cena were on this night, you can end up with a great match out of it. I thought that they did very well considering John Cena's physical limitations. Like, half the time, it seems like he doesn't want to take the bumps necessary for a bunch of these things, and that's fair. He's been through a long road, and he's 48 and probably has knees that don't feel quite so good compared to where they were 20 years ago. That's all well and good. They did a very good job at making this smoke and mirrors plunder main event style match work. I think the only thing that would have potentially made it better was if some of the other plunder matches on this show were on last night's show. By the time we'd gotten to the main event, it felt like we'd seen kind of a lot of the, not exactly the same spots, but there were lots of chairs, lots of tables, lots of big moves and big weapon spots and everything. And had they balanced out the cards a little bit, I think it makes this one stand out that much more.
Oh, yeah, man, because I was thinking also, because one of the matches that we saw like a lot of violence in was Becky and Lyra, which, by the way, they killed it. Can't wait to talk about that match. But yeah, I was thinking about the same exact thing where it was like, okay, you know, it does feel like we've seen quite a bit of this on the show, but I thought they did a good job, though, overall, of at least making it feel a little different. I know a couple of people were stating in the chats as well, kind of talking about how it was a street fight and they kind of wanted them to do a little bit more of that. It kind of took them a second to get there, but they did eventually get there. I felt like they just put far more thought into this match, which, believe it or not, the bar was not that high for this match. No. I mean, they just had to do better than what they did at WrestleMania, and all was going to be forgiven. And I feel like they over-delivered, over-exceeded on my expectations for this matchup, which I could not be more thrilled about with that. We got JJ Castillo here who says, what a great night too. Women's triple threat, TLC main event were bangers. How do you evaluate first two-night SummerSlam and going forward? I don't know that we actually need a two-night SummerSlam event. I think that we can stick to the one night. However, now that WWE has done the 2 nights, we already know we're going to get 2 nights next year. We already knew that because the show was announced like 50 years in advance. So we already knew that. I do think that if next year we're kind of in the same situation, there is a possibility we'll go back to the 1 night. But as of right now, I feel like if WWE decides, oh, we want to do 2 nights, I think they're pretty cool with sticking with the 2 nights.
Yeah, I don't think this one's going to change necessarily. It's another big gate for them, and people will buy tickets. So I can't see them turning down that kind of guaranteed money. I don't particularly think SummerSlam needs a second night. And if they did have one, I think they should have balanced the cards a lot better than they did this time around. And maybe that's a lesson that they can learn for the future. But interestingly enough, I think the only WWE show besides WrestleMania in the calendar year that actually should be 2 nights is the Royal Rumble. Just because as you're structuring the show, having a Royal Rumble match on each of the 2 cards to be the big either main event or the big highlight of the night, I think that will just help the Rumble show, because there's always going to be a lull after the first Rumble match, and the next match that goes out is always going to be difficult to care about before people eventually come back up for the Royal Rumble that comes later. So split that one in 2 and give each show their own Rumble match, and I think that works much better on a 2-night format.
I think by the time we get to year 2030, we're probably going to have every single pay-per-view at 2 nights. That's the way we're going, guys. That's the way we're going. It also reminded me of a joke that CM Punk made at the Comic-Con. He said, he told Jacob Fatu, he turned to him and he said, hey, I heard that this year there's going to be 3 Royal Rumbles. And he was like, huh? And he goes, yeah, the men's, the women's, and then all Samoans.
They're getting there. There's certainly going to be enough of them. Yeah. If this trend continues, Zilla Fatu is going to show up at some point.
Yeah, for reals. Frank here says, I'd rather hear Fiend instead of Lesnar. We got the Juices Loose 94 who says, Denise Tempest, huge fan of both of you. Glad to be here. The Juices Loose, thank you so much for showing love and some support here on the podcast. Thank you very kindly. John here says, okay, back to wrestling. SummerSlam thoughts. Really good matches tonight. Candace reminding us why she is a PWG legend. Cody Cena was fire. Did not have Theo Alejandro Jesus styles on my bingo card. Fun show. I'm with you, John. With that being said, I do want to go ahead and we're just going to work our way backwards on this card here. You mentioned Tio Alejandro Jesus Styles. Tempest, I was reading the chat and watching the show, and when I saw the lowrider come out, I swear, I'm like, oh yeah, Dom's coming out in a lowrider. That's very cool, right? And then I realized it was AJ Styles, and I was like, the fuck you mean AJ Styles is coming out in a lowrider? It was so funny. He's out there with his son. They're doing the little Eddie Guerrero dance, and he comes out there in Eddie Guerrero inspired geared, and it played into this match, which was more of a comic relief type of match than you had seen from anything else on the card. Dominik retained. In fact, every champion retained except for John Cena, which I think by the time we got to this main event, that was something that a lot of people had noticed, being like, yo, no titles changed hands. I think we're going to get a title changing hands at the main event, which is what we did. But I had fun with Dominik and AJ. I thought it was cute. It was harmless.
I think that's a very good way of putting it. I think there were definitely this was a match with a lot of Eddie Guerrero callback spots, and that's always going to get a pop from the crowd. It's fun to go down that route with Dom. The whole finish was very reminiscent of Eddie's match with Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 20 with the boot coming off and leading to the finish. That's all well and good, even if I thought one of the spots didn't really make a lot of sense when they did the chair bang on the ground and then toss it to the other guy's spot. And AJ
it was so funny, though.
It's funny. It's really good. It gets a pop.
Yeah.
But AJ taking the chair, putting it around his head and laying down, if the referee sees that, he'll call for a DQ. A DQ.
Right, that is true. Yes.
AJ,
yes.
You're not going to win the title that way.
Yes.
I thought that was a bit where I was just like, if I wanted to nitpick this match, I really could. But I'm choosing not to because, like you said, it was harmless. Dom gets a pretty big win when you consider that, AJ Styles is still AJ Styles. And for Dominik to be able to say he retained the title against AJ Styles at SummerSlam, eventually they'll do a big Dominik Mysterio documentary, and this will be one of the big highlight matches for him. And that's really good for him. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to think too much about it when we get to tomorrow, but otherwise, a mild thumbs up.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Yeah, and I'm with you. I had a good time with this match, though, even though, like you said, you're right about the whole, referee. He would have probably been like, what the hell? The guy has a chair. Because I even thought, he's going to side with AJ Styles and Dominik's going to get screwed, right? That's what probably most people were thinking, but the ref was just lost on that one. Lewis Rothel says, Brock's return makes Travis Scott at WrestleMania 10 out of 10. Travis Scott right now, suddenly I'm a babyface to y'all.
Honestly, though.
Wild shit. We have Infamous Raider Loco. Thank you, Lewis. He says, also, Tempest, how are you feeling with Team Denise asking for future shows? I'm manifesting. Yeah, we need to do it. I remember having names, but I don't remember if you and I had a name. Did we have a name?
We didn't have a name. I went into Microsoft Paint and made a very simple graphic of just the Denise and Tempest show. And didn't bother combining our names at all for it. But I'm open to all suggestions. I want all suggestions.
Right now, this is all we have. Team Denise. Oh man. All right. We got Vince 9212 who says, great interviews this week from SummerSlam. Thank you so much, Vince. I had a great time. I loved interviewing Alexa. It had been so many years since I had gotten a chance to interview her. So I was thrilled. I was so thrilled. And she was so fun too. So fun. Charlotte was great. I was a little bummed I didn't get my one-on-one interview with Charlotte. It ran out of time. So we had to do scrum style, which was fine. I still got a question in. I got to ask her about Unreal, spoke with Brock Lesnar, Aleister Black. That interview did very well. A lot of people tuned in for that one. And then also Lyra Valkryia, which she has said a lot of great things as well. So thank you so much, Vin, for supporting those interviews. Vin also says, how's the IWC doing with Brock? Probably not good. And I don't think we're doing good here either. So far, it's going to be a mess, and it's going to be an ugly mess. And I haven't gone on Twitter yet to see people's reactions just yet on this. So I will surely be doing that immediately following the show.
Yeah, we're not doing well on this podcast, and I won't pass too much judgment on reactions that I've not seen happen yet. But whether you're a diehard Brock Lesnar fan or whether you're politically aligned one way or another, I can tell you that probably the worst people in the IWC are super happy for the wrong reasons. I know those people exist. And
Oh,
that
it
is
always
very
happens.
disappointing.
Always.
You know?
Always. It's a
Yeah.
mess out there. But hey, just, you know, do your own opinions and just do what you feel. All right, we got the
Yeah.
AJ Bean here who says, I don't buy wrestling shirts, but that Styles Heat t-shirt is money. I liked the color combo that he chose for his tights. I thought, damn,
Yeah.
AJ, you look good with that. It was
The
good.
longer I saw it, I was like, these tights are kind of working for me.
Right?
You know, I like the design anyway. Like, you know, the Eddie Guerrero Latino Heat design was always like a favorite of mine. But the color combos, I love a nice color palette on a wrestling tight. And that was,
It was
definitely one of them.
different, that color palette. I don't feel like I've seen it before.
It's so sad because I can't imagine Styles is like maybe ever going to wear these tights again. You know, it's kind of like the specific tights for a match with Dom Mysterio. But like, I don't know. It was the first time in a long time I was like, ooh, AJ, you're a little fizzy looking drink tonight. You know?
Yeah.
You got a proper pair of tights. Not that he does badly, but I don't know. They're really eye catching. I give it a thumbs up.
I love them. I'm with you. Thank you, AJ Bean. All right, let's work our way backwards. Oh, this is the match I didn't like. Sola Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for the steel cage, in a steel cage match for the United States Championship. This match was so lame, Tempest. Nothing happened in this. The biggest spot happened after the match. By then, it didn't even matter anymore. And then they had Jacob Fatu lose. Like, why? Like, this guy is something special. Move forward with him. He should he has to get his upper hand on Solo Sikoa, and then he needs to move on. That is it. They're keeping him in a box right now. I think once he gets out of that box and starts wrestling new people, and we can have some really exciting matches, that's when this guy is gonna really blow up into something special. And you don't want to make him look lame to the crowd. I feel like they kind of during this match made him look a little lame, and I don't like that.
I completely agree. I think this match sucked. I think this match was really lame. I could pick apart this match, every single bit of it. Like, some of it is not their fault. Like, I think Jacob Fatu is fantastic. I think he is one of the best working members of this Anoa'i family. For sure. Give him his flowers. Solo Sikoa, very entertaining. He's a funny guy. I love when he does his comedy. Funny Solo Sikoa gets a big thumbs up. But the problem with this match is that WWE has always had these fuck-ass steel cage matches. What is the point of a steel cage match with a door? I'm not the first person to say this. This has been said for decades. But for the love of God, what is the point of keeping everybody out of the steel cage for people to just get in the cage? For people to just mess with the babyface, for people to just do the lamest possible steel cage finish, which is just guy gets the cage slammed on his head by a heel. No creativity to this. Even when it looked like maybe we would get some creativity with Jacob being handcuffed to the top of the deal, at least I saw that and I went, you know what? Yeah, he's probably fucked. Solo's probably going to escape now. But then he breaks out immediately, which the cameraman missed, to then just have the standard steel cage finish, slams the door on his head, Solo falls out of the cage. To only then do the big moonsault after the match. What is the fucking point? What is the fucking point of any of this? I don't understand it. Jacob Fatu needs to get moved to Raw, be moved away from the motherfucking tribe, and never be involved with any of this again.
Thank you.
So far past the expiration date of the fringe bloodline stuff. I'm sorry. I'm glad they all have jobs, but I would love to see all of the Tongans and Jeff Cobb and Solo Sikoa doing anything else. It's been time. We've been watching this stable for 5 fucking years, and it's not been good for at least 2. I'm over it. I'm so far over it. This has been the rant that some people usually expect from me when I review a WWE pay-per-view, and it comes out in moments like this, when I see a great wrestler lose in a stupid-ass steel cage match.
I'm with you, man. I kept thinking about this. I said, how are you keeping this guy back and having him lose to Sola Sikoa in a group that no one cares about? My family tree? Like, come on. Sounds like a first grade school project. You can't do that. It was just such a disappointment. And like you said, there was no creativity in it. And I also thought, I wonder what they're going to come up with right now that they handcuffed Jacob Fatu. I thought, something's really going to come of this. And then it didn't. I even thought, the match is going to pick up right here. And then it didn't. And so that was the end of it. But I will tell you my favorite part in this. You want to know what the best part of this whole match was? It wasn't the moonsault. No. It was the part when JC Mateo opened the door and he said, Solo, right here, Solo. That was the best part because I'm like, bro, he knows the door is right there. Like, come on. But he's like, right here, Solo, right here. It was so bad. But other than that,
bar. This is the bar for WWE cage matches.
No, it can't be that way. It just can't, man. One of my favorite steel cage matches ever happened on a SummerSlam card with Brett and Owen. So how do you do that and never did people not go back and look and study and see what are some options of things that we can do? I don't know. It just feels it was not good. It was really not good.
The philosophy of the cage match needs to be overhauled in WWE. We're going to keep people out. People aren't going to be interfering in this goddamn match. Not having it. Put barbed wire on the top so they can't get in. Lock the door. Do whatever you got to do. But enough of this. Enough is, and to quote Owen Hart, enough is enough. It's time for a change.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sad about that. We got Shaka Rooting Games. Thank you so much, Shaka Rooting Games, for the super chat. He says, PSA, if you disagree with the Lesnar situation, stop watching. They may not care about your opinion, but they will care if you stop watching. Hey, look, no lies detected there. No lies detected there. We got, thank you for the super chat. We got Infamous Raider Loco here who says, I told Denise, Mr. Denise Fatu needs to sleep in the garage now. It ain't his fault. It's creative, so he can cuddle you, Denise, but he should have won. He's my AI husband, Tempest. AI apparently thought that Jacob Fatu was married to me because of an interview where we spoke about his wife. So there you go, guys. AI is just out here giving everybody the facts. Thank you, Frank. We got JCWV here who says, not all Republicans are evil or morally corrupt, as not all Democrats are saints. I started back watching wrestling to escape my treatments and have some peace now, and this has divided us even more. Tempest hates us again. Okay, so just a heads up, guys. I know we don't normally talk about politics on this podcast, and we're not sitting here saying, oh, you're evil because you align with this political party. We are specifically, covering right now this topic with Brock Lesnar. And when it comes down to it, it's just one of those situations of, look, Donald Trump, to me, I dislike Donald Trump because of the things that he has done. It's not just the political party that he represents. It's the movement that he has represented. So it is totally different where, I have family members that are freaking Republican. I have families that are not on the same, side as me. And I know firsthand that they are good people, but we just don't see eye to eye on certain things. And so we choose not to discuss that. But at the same time, I'm not going to support them if they are starting to, support things that are just completely wrong and out of the world incorrect. So I think when we're talking about Brock Lesnar and this stuff and the association with WWE and Donald Trump is not a good look because of a lot of the things that Donald Trump represents. Donald Trump isn't just representing the Republican Party. He's representing a more extremist group with MAGA. And again, I think a lot of people that follow me on social media already know how I feel about that type of stuff. So this really isn't breaking news or anything like that. And again, I usually stray away from talking about those things because this is a pro wrestling podcast, but it's where we're at right now, guys. And it's on our TVs and we're seeing it. So we can't just turn around and act like we're not seeing it. And it sucks and it's hard, but here we are. And I wish we didn't have to talk about this here. I really wish we didn't have to talk about that because I just don't like talking about it. I hate talking about it. I cover pro wrestling. All right. I studied broadcast journalism because I was going to be in news. And then I realized I didn't want to do news because news was too sad and scary and I would cry and I didn't like it. And so I went into entertainment because I thought, woo, it's going to be fun to talk about movies and wrestling and music. And now here we are.
Here we are. You know,
thank you, Tracy.
I think you have said that all very eloquently. I think you said it all very well. I think that for the most part, you can often very easily separate who wrestlers support and whatnot. If that's just, you know, their opinions or whatever, if that's an interview they've done somewhere else, I can turn off that part of my brain when I'm watching the show. But if WWE wants to put up pictures of Triple H and Donald Trump and everything multiple times across their weekend, I might then have to comment on it when I review said show. And just in case you needed to know, fuck that guy. That's how I feel about it. So take that for what you will. Not a fan.
All right, we got David Primero here who says both SummerSlam main event ruined by Seth and you know who, eyes emojis. Oh, Seth's looking like a baby face to me right now. We got John Taylor with a very generous super chat who says, wanted to wait for the mood to lighten to send this, but this is totally a bribe to make Tempest hashtag all Denise. By the way, a rip on All Elite. Shout out to the person who coined that. Wasn't me. Might as well take advantage of the super chat and make Denise and her poor eyesight read all 270 characters. Yes, thank you for that.
Get your money's worth.
I don't know why, but I don't like to read super chats on the screen. I still choose to read them in the little tiny chat box. So I could easily read it here and see things more properly because of my eyesight. But I choose to read it in the tiny little box so that I squint and I'm like, I think you said what he said. So funny.
If it works, it works. You know, don't feel the need to change for anybody.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, John, for the support that you are constantly giving on this show and for hashtag Tempest to become hashtag all Denise. Shouldn't it be all DWL or all Denise? I'm not sure. We'll worry about that later. We got Vince9212 who says, anything you're looking forward to beyond Brock and Cena with Brock? People who have an issue with Brock should read Jimmy Van tweets. Look, Jim, I don't know what Jimmy Van has tweeted. I worked for Fightful. He's a former boss of mine. I no longer work with Fightful. I do not know what he has tweeted. I have not seen his tweets in a very long time, so I can't really say what has been or has not been tweeted out at that time. So I can't necessarily co-sign on this because I don't know what he has said. But I also suggest that people formulate, read and look around and do your research and formulate your own opinions, in regards to everything. Like, don't take my opinion. Don't take Tempest's opinion. Formulate your own opinions, man. Feel how you feel about stuff and move forward with that as long as it feels right and authentic to you and who you are and what your values are, etc. And then anything beyond that I'm looking forward to between Brock and Cena. With Brock, I honestly haven't even had a chance to process that. Like, my brain didn't go to storyline mode. It really didn't. It kind of went in a totally different direction. So I kind of wish I had more of a well thought out answer for you. Tempest, I don't know. Do you have anything? Is there something obvious that I'm not considering at the moment? And thank you, Vince.
I mean, that's the thing though, isn't it? Like, my answer to the question is no, I don't. Because I've seen this happen, and again, I'm not quite looking at it in a kayfabe perspective. Well, let me fantasy book the next year of Brock Lesnar by any means. If I'm sure there are people out there that now assume we're going to get Brock Lesnar versus Gunther at some point, and that's really going to appeal to them, for example. But for me on this day, nothing about Brock Lesnar being on my TV screen is appealing to me. So unfortunately, I don't really have a positive answer to give.
All right, we got Sleazeboy992 who says, you know, that's what's crazy is Triple H was in the same room as another Lawrence Taylor, WrestleMania 11 main eventer and a sex offender when he was at the White House. Crazy stuff, guys. Thank you, Sleazeboy. We got Robbie McGowan here who says, who's ready for another mid-title reign from Cody? Aw, guys, Cody's my boy, guys. Cody's my boy. I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for him. I don't know, like, what is there? Who's like somebody that we're not thinking of that can have a pretty kick-ass feud with Cody Rhodes?
I mean, they can finally pull the trigger on a Randy Orton feud.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Done. You know, like there is still so much left for Cody to be able to do as champion. If they wanted to go down a road and do Cody and Sammy at WrestleMania potentially, I think there is still so much left for this guy. I denounce your take, sir, that his title reign was mid. I think Cody Rhodes' title reign was very good when he wasn't feuding with Solo Sikoa.
Thank you, Robbie. We got Infamous Raider Loco says, following the GOAT, John Taylor, big fan of Tempest, so been so pumped for this reunion. Honestly, hoping for more contributions and collaborations. His Forbidden Door introduction, my fave of all time. Thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you very much. It was a hell of a day.
We got John here who says, also FYI, I'm getting all the super chats tonight because I won't be here for Tempest Night 3. So please DWO blow up the super chats tomorrow. Thank you so much, John, for all your contributions, man. You know how much that means to us over here. So thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and rewind now into a match that I did love a whole lot. Becky Lynch, Lyra, Valkryia, they brought their game, and in the end, I mean, they got violent. We saw Lyra wrestle practically half the match with her hands zip tied together, which shout out to her. That looks hella hard to do. I didn't like the way they had her get rid of them. She went under the ring and then she came out and she was like, I'm free. And I'm like, okay, was there someone down there with scissors? Was Hornswoggle down there waiting to open up these zip ties? What is happening here? But regardless, I loved this match, man. I loved it. I thought they did so good and they made it so different from everything else that they have done on with their previous matches. So I thought they did a really great job of that. And then the other thing that I wanted to say, Bayley interfered in this. I was expecting Bayley to interfere into this, and then she accidentally ended up I think she punched Lyra, right? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, she punched Lyra and it ended up costing her the match up there. So she kind of ended up screwing Lyra in this with Becky winning. But it was accidental, and I truly believe that Bayley did not mean to do this on purpose. What do you think?
Well, for really the first time of these last two shows, Denise, we have a quite differing opinion about
Did
this
you
match.
hate this match?
I did not like this match very much.
Why?
I think that, as has been the case with a number of big WWE Plunder matches, they were just trying a bit too hard to be like creative with their spots. And as a result, I lost a lot of the kind of hatred and, you know, the storyline emotion that they have had together over their previous matches going into this one in favor of doing creative spots. I think there are a lot of things here that were just a bit too complicated for their own good. I can't ignore the fact that Lyra Valkryia gets her hands zip tied together, and about halfway through that sequence, she slipped out of them and how to put her hand back in it a different way.
I was confused about that. When that happened, I was like, wait, what? I was like trying to look and see what happened there.
Like, and that, unfortunately, that is just a level of suspension of disbelief too far for me. I saw it with my own eyes. She escaped from her contraption and put herself back in it because it wasn't time for her to be out of it, you know? And that, I can't imagine being in that. When you know that spot is supposed to last another 5 minutes and you accidentally slip out, that is not going to be a good time in the mind of Lyra Valkryia. But as someone who did see it and has to critique a match, it is unfortunately like points off when I see it. I struggled with that bit. This match to me was like the Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole 3 in their NXT trilogy, where the first one is great, a hard-hitting match. Second one is a hard-hitting match. And then the third one, they just did a bunch of spots. You know, like the bit where in this one, Lyra Valkryia gets trapped in the chair, and then Becky has to try and wedge the chair into the announce table to then kick it. It all just felt contrived to me a little bit. And there were still highlights in this match. I love when Becky finally throws Bayley over the barricade, rests for a moment on the table, only for Lyra to come flying out of nowhere with a leg drop and put them both through the table. I thought that was fantastic. But generally speaking, this one didn't do a whole lot for me. And it's really sad because the two women's matches on this show were the two matches this whole weekend that I was most looking forward to. I have loved Becky Lynch's and Lyra Valkyrie's matches throughout this year so far. And whereas I think the triple threat match very much did deliver to the level I expected it to, I was quite underwhelmed by this one, unfortunately.
You know what? It's fair because when that whole part happened, I was a little confused as to how it happened. I missed the part where her arm slipped out. That part I missed. So I thought like, did she just figure out a way to like get herself with her arms around Becky? That's where I was confused as to what had actually transpired there. So thankfully I didn't catch that little detail, because then had I caught it, then I probably would have felt the same way, but I didn't. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, let's keep on moving with this match. I'm feeling I'm feeling it. And I did still like everything that they did. So thankfully it didn't take away from the match for me. Again, I liked how they were thinking of all of these different things that they could possibly do with the toolbox, with the fire extinguisher, all of that. I thought they put a lot of thought into those portions of it. All right, let's see. Who do we got here? We got CJ here who says they've disrespected the US title like 3+ years. Every reign has sucked. Logan's, LA's, Fatu, Shinsuke's. I think Sola will be the same. Add Chelsea, Zelina Vega, and Julia, a joke compared to the IC title. Actually, now that you say it, you're not wrong, man. Logan's title reign was hardly ever there. LA Knight, they had him weirdly lose to Shinsuke. Fatu, while they're doing what they're doing right now, Shinsuke Nakamura didn't go anywhere with it. So yeah, you're kind of right on all of those. And same thing with what's going on with the women's side of it. With the women's side of the US title is not good. And given that it was introduced roughly the same time as the women's intercontinental title, the women's intercontinental title has been treated far, far better. Thank you so much, CJ.
Hashtag we want Mello. Why has Carmelo Hayes not been U.S. champion? Why did he not beat LA Knight last year when they gave it to Shinsuke Nakamura of all people? It's like, yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those titles that should mean a lot more than it does and needs a bit of rehabbing. And I thought Chelsea Green did great character work with it, but a few consistent, very perfectly executed title reigns in a row for both the men's and women's U.S. title reigns are certainly in order.
We got Kevin here who says, you'll probably talk about it later, but I'll be sleeping. Naomi's entrance with her dad was the coolest thing I've seen. A good night of wrestling overall. Great seeing you, Tempest. Have a great night. Well, let's talk about it right now, actually, that Kevin is on at the moment. So, and that was the opening match, which is Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky, which was the triple threat for the Women's World Championship. The match that most people were anticipating. Do you think it delivered to the level that you were expecting it to deliver, Tempest?
Generally speaking, I would say that it did. I think it's tough because just naturally a triple threat for this title with 2 out of the 3 participants being the same, it was very difficult not to compare this to, the 3-way that was had at WrestleMania, the opener of night 2. It was very similar parallels to like placements on the card and everything. That's my favorite WWE match of the year so far is the women's triple threat at WrestleMania. So that's a lot to live up to. If that's what, at least in my mind, I'm going to compare the match to, I don't think it was necessarily quite that good, but it was still one of my favorite matches the whole weekend. I thought this was fantastic. And generally, Naomi's entrance might have been my favorite thing of both shows. Like, that is sweet. And as someone who watched them, I think, reconcile on Total Divas back in the day, this was a full circle moment for your boy.
Dude, I loved the entrance, and I'm with you too. That women's WrestleMania match is still my favorite of the year as well. And I didn't think this one came close to it. I don't know if I thought it would. I guess I did think it would, and I think a lot of people thought it would too, but it just didn't. It was just a totally different type of matchup, which was fun, and it still had a lot of good moments. But I do think we maybe had crazier expectations set on it, primarily because of what we've already seen in that triple threat and what we had already seen just with Rhea and Io alone at Evolution. So I think for those reasons, we were expecting some crazy match, and it was fine. It was a great match, but that was kind of the extent of it. I don't know that it will be up there. It will be up there for me in my favorite women's matches for this year for WWE, but it definitely will not top that WrestleMania match, and it will not top the Rhea Io match from Evolution. Thank you so much to Kevin, by the way. And we also got Tracy WV, who says, I wasn't trying to start anything. We had so much fun this weekend, and it took 5 minutes to take us down a road we didn't see coming, but I won my bets. Tracy, you did not start anything. We're all here, adults, and we all, we have to talk about this stuff every now and then. And that's all I ask of the people, watching this show is just, first and foremost, we just respect each other, and that's where we continue on with everything. Thank you, Tracy. All right. We also got let me see. Before we get into the last super chats, I do, because we've pretty much talked about every match except for one. And that last match we need to get into is the TLC. Holy smokes, bro. They just had so many crazy spots in this. The Spanish Fly with Axiom and Angelo. The moment when Candice got thrown off the top of the ladder. Ray Phoenix's frog splash. God, I'm even blanking on everything that happened. The guys going through the 4 tables. Tommaso Ciampa and Nathan Frazier they did their version of the Edge Jeff Hardy spot, but it was Tommaso Ciampa with crazy core strength, lifts his legs up and gets thrown back. Like, I don't even know. He folds his body back up in a way that makes Nathan just go straight into the mat. It was crazy. Those are just a couple of the spots that we saw in this. Loved the match. But the one thing I do have to say is, what the hell happened in the finish? Nothing. It was a very, very underwhelming finish that I unfortunately feel is going to take away from this match when people talk about it and look back at it.
A little bit, yeah. This match was bonkers. Like, it was exactly what you would expect from a 12-person TLC match on a big stage. Just goes to show that the last TLC match should have been at WrestleMania and not on SmackDown. This deserved the biggest spotlight possible. The SmackDown tag division has been, highlighted in a way where it should be better than what it is, in the sense where all the teams are great, but the presentation of everything is no one's really had long impressive tag title reigns. They kind of just flip the titles around. Everyone kind of beats each other with the same kind of regularity. There aren't any of these teams that are really sticking out ahead of the pack, other than currently the Wyatt Six just being the champions. So seeing a match where everybody can have a bit of a chance to have a little showcase for themselves, hopefully can generate some momentum for any which one of these different teams. There were so many spots that I loved. You ran through most of them, but shout out to PWG legend Candice LeRae taking one of the gnarliest ladder bumps that I have ever seen. Too far away to grab those titles, but close enough to take one hell of a bump. My God. Andrade did the same ladder sunset flip powerbomb spot that he did at Money in the Bank 2019, so that popped me because, my God, what a spot. You say that about all of them. Tommaso Ciampa going upside down was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. And I want to give special props to, I believe it was Andrade and Ray Phoenix, who did the best version of the I'll stand on your shoulders spot and almost reach the tag titles that I've ever seen. I've seen guys try and do that spot, but it always feels why are you doing that spot? It would be so much more efficient if you just grabbed a ladder and went quickly. But they got really close to grabbing the tag titles with that one tonight. So I was oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someday someone is just going to do that and it'll be great. So shout out to everybody that was involved. I saw the Street Profits do an interview where they said this was their first PLE match in like 16 months or something crazy.
Oh, shit.
I think since like last year's WrestleMania, I believe. And that is sorely unacceptable. We need to get so many more of these guys in the rotation because so many of them are among the best wrestlers that are on either brand. So highlighting them should be a focus. And I've never made it particularly, a secret that the Wyatt Six is not necessarily for me. I get it. It's nice. I'm glad that they've got their spot, all of these things. But you could just kind of feel a bit of the air being sucked out of the building when it was like, oh, this is the finish.
They booed.
Yeah, and they're heels, so like I get that. That's kind of.
But they always get great reactions, though. Always.
Yeah. It was just like I think everybody kind of wanted to see a big title change. And sure, if you're the heels, you can't always give the fans what they want. Like that's wrestling and everything. But I do think it's a bit of a statement about what people felt about the Wyatt Six coming out of this. When as soon as it was clear, like, oh, this is the finish, isn't it? You could just kind of, it wasn't even like a no, boo. It was like a kind of sound. That's how I interpret it anyway. And that's kind of how I was feeling in my living room watching it. So not super stoked about the finish and what it means for the direction of the tag division. I would have gone with like, I don't know, maybe a Fraxium or something like that. Motor City Machine Guns, give a big spotlight on one of those teams and then go into another good feud with some combination of those teams. But I'm sure that the Wyatt Six will lose the tag titles in a SmackDown main event in a month's time, and we'll all look back and go, why wasn't that done at SummerSlam anyway? And then we'll all forget about that even happened, and it won't have mattered. So that's my positivity for the day. Everything matters and nothing matters in wrestling. If you had fun, that's what matters.
Yeah, I feel like, I was thinking the same thing. I thought, man, if like, for example, Rey Fenix and Andrade win, like I'm going to lose my shit. That'll be so fun to see. But I think we all knew they were going to stick with the Wyatt Six. And little did we know at that point of the show that we would be seeing every champion retain until the main event. So I think that's also part of the reason why we saw the Wyatt Six retain as well. All right, before we wrap things up, everybody, we got a couple of super chats left. We got John Taylor here who says, also, I've always wondered, is there a story behind donning the mask, Tempest? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, in a sense, when I started my in-ring wrestling career once upon a time, I'd always, when I made characters in wrestling video games, I always gave them a mask. So I just went, hey, it would be fun if I just wore a mask, and like that was kind of just my thought process of it. I like the idea of going to the shows and like putting the mask on ahead of time and people not actually knowing what my face looked like. And then if I wanted to leave, I could just leave and take the mask off and I could just enjoy my privacy. I could go out. This is me being like, I'm going to be a big star. People are going to care about what I look like. They're going to approach me in the streets. So when I did that and then the pandemic hit, I was like, still kind of in that mindset. And so when I first went on Quizzlemania, I was a masked wrestler at that point. So I was like, well, I guess I got to wear the mask on the stream. And then I gave up being a wrestler, but I kept the mask. So hey, again, it means that I get my privacy when I want it, except for the rare people that do recognize me in public without it. Those people, they are, I would say, too big of a fan, but you are a big fan of me, and that's never too big. So shout out to y'all.
It's funny because I always see like wrestlers that I know what they look like without their mask. And there's been so many times where they're walking amongst wrestling fans and I see them, right? And no one knows it's them. And I'm just like, cool. And I don't say anything, obviously, like you don't do that. But it's so amazing to see. And they're just walking amongst the fans and no one has any clue. It's glorious. It's so glorious.
I don't believe that you can spot masked wrestlers that way, because the first day that we met in public, you didn't.
No, well, because I've seen them backstage. That's why. Like I've worked.
You saw me backstage on Streamlabs.
No, I'm talking about like wrestlers and stuff, though. Like seeing them backstage, I know what they look like without their mask, and then seeing them, for example, like at wrestling conventions, and they're just walking around and no one has any idea it's them.
Oh, I understand exactly what you're saying. You had no idea that it was me when I said, hi, Denise. And you're like, oh,
I was like, who is
what's
this?
Your
Hi.
name?
No, I did not recognize you at all. Like, completely.
It works. It works, people. It'll fool your friends.
That is true. That is true. All right. Let me see. Where am I at? John Tiller says, missed my last super chat, FYI. Oh, don't worry. We got it. We got it. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Joe Compton here says, I'm amongst the minority. I believe night 1 was better than night 2. Okay, Joe, at least you know you're in the minority on this one. At least you're aware of it. Thank you so much for the super chat. But yeah, I do think night 2 was way better, like a million times better. We got Shane Canavan here. Let's see what we got. Shane Canavan, 1876. Thank you, Shane, for the super chat. He says, just got here, so I don't know what's been said, but F this company. Triple H claimed when asked about the Grant case, we're doing everything we can to protect their women. Piss off. They're full of crap. So yeah, Shane, we definitely did cover this a whole lot in the beginning. So afterwards, you can either rewind. I think you can rewind on the live version of the show too, but if not, afterwards, we do cover it a whole lot, so you can make sure to get our full in-depth answers on that. It is a difficult spot, and I don't blame people for being upset. I really, really don't, man. It sucks. It's hard, and I hate that it took a lot out. It took so much of the show away. People are going to be talking just about this, and Brock. Hell, we were only talking about this at the very top of this podcast, and it sucked because, again, there was a lot of really good stuff on this night that got completely overshadowed by the Brock Lesnar stuff. So, oh man, guys, I don't know what to say. Thank you, Shane, for the super chat. We got Steven here who says Cody versus Cena 2 reminded me of Rock versus Cena 1. Do you see those parallels, Tempest?
It's interesting. The bits at not really, if I'm being honest. There's certainly the bits at the end, like the passing of the torch, the raising of the hand. That reminds me more of Rock and Cena 2, at Mania 29 in the same building, mind you. But yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, there's so many differences in the plunder and the crowd brawling and the structure of the match that I think sets it aside from Rock and Cena 1. It's still a John Cena match, so still there will be like a lot of the big move kick out kind of things. That's just how his big matches are. But I think there was enough difference here to set them apart in my mind.
Thank you so much, Stephen Marchuli. And we got CJ who says, DW love, women are money, and Blue Chew promo code Denise. Hey, that's all you got to remember, guys. DWO, subscribe, women are money, and Blue Chew promo code Denise. Thank you, CJ. All right, with all of that, that is our wrap for this show. Man, I want to thank you all who tuned in for the watch along, who tuned in for the review, whatever you tuned in for. Thank you very much for supporting this channel. Make sure you subscribe. Check out the SummerSlam content. Also, I posted all of my reactions are up on Instagram and my Facebook page at _ Denise Salcedo. If you guys haven't followed there, please do. I'm really, really trying to grow specifically the Instagram page a whole lot. So if you guys haven't gone in there, go check it out. And that's it for me. Tempest, what do you got going on that you want to make sure you plug out there for the people?
Well, of course, thank you again so much for having me both nights of this SummerSlam. I'll be back tomorrow to review Raw afterwards. But in the meantime and in between time, you can follow me on Twitter at hey_it's_Tempest. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Hey It's Tempest, where I have started once again doing a bunch of video essays. They are my passion. I've done one on Charlotte Flair already that I'm very proud of, and another on The Suicide Squad, great comic book movie that I love very, very much. And I have a number of more video essays and everything in the works that should be coming fairly soon, and I will be excited to announce more projects if and when I am able to. So in the meantime, Twitter and YouTube at Hey It's Tempest.
Alrighty, guys, that is it for us here today. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow for Monday Night Raw. Bye, everyone.